All right, guys. So let's talk about something here that is kind of real world related when it comes to the HVAC space. Now, we can go to school, we can read textbooks, we can listen to people rant and rave in front of a chalkboard or a whiteboard or online, right way, wrong way. Yes, and there's a right way and wrong way to do a lot of things, but there's also a real world scenario that happens quite often where what you're reading in a book or what the educator or instructor told you, and you must always, always, always do it like this. Sometimes that's just not the way it is in the real world. In the real world, people are paying you money for services, and people get pissed off when they pay you money and there's a callback or something along the lines has happened where they've taken your service, they've paid you money, hits the fan because you haven't done something that you're supposed to do, or maybe you did everything that you're supposed to do, but there's something that you could have done to prevent something from happening down the line. Now, let me give you an example of this. And I don't do a lot of residential stuff. I try to do residential locally where I live, easy peasy money. I don't like to do install, but I'll do a ton of service. It's easy peasy money. And for me locally, I don't mind driving 5 minutes down the road, looking at a machine, making some money, and 5 minutes down the road back to home afterwards. But I was in my own neighborhood a year or two ago, and I drove out. It's actually a friend of mine. I drove out to his unit. I found a loose connection on the contactor coil, just that one spade connector on the contactor coil. It was like just kind of dangling there, and it wasn't making full connection. As soon as I fixed that, pulled in, unit ran. Now, I did when I was there, I obviously I look at the coil, I look at the contactor, and I always test the capacitor as well, because testing the capacitor is a bit of an easy money maker, and it's a legit money maker, and it's not sales tech-esque when it comes to trying to get the homeowner to open up their pocketbook for service that you've done. If the capacitor shows that it's failing with your meter, it's a good repair. It's a good way to make money because you're getting that customer potentially up and running down the line. But here's what happened. I tested it and it was totally fine. It read fine. It was a bit corroded on the top. Yeah, I mean, that happens because the machines are outside. There is humidity in the air, moisture attacks metal and it starts to corrode. That's just the natural way of things. It was like a couple weeks later, like literally a couple weeks later, he called me and said it was down again. I was upset with myself because I don't like callbacks. He wasn't upset with me. He's just like, yeah, come over and check it, whatever. I get upset with myself. And imagine this was 2 hours away, but it was down the street, fortunately. So I went back, and the capacitor that I had checked previously that had a little bit of corrosion on it and was fine with my meter had now failed. The unit, this was the original capacitor in the unit, by the way. And the unit's probably 8-9 years old, something like that. So, and this has happened before as well. Not like to me per se, but other technicians. And I've had this conversation with other technicians about residential capacitor swaps and contactor swaps. I'm under now the impression that I think it's safe to bet, and this is not being a sales tech whatsoever, I think there's a safe bet that within your specific area, and I think it matters depending on where you live, because if you're in like Florida and it's super humid and hot all the time and the AC is constantly running and whatever, the schedule that I'm about to talk about here could be different there than it is where I am in Toronto, where the AC runs typically maybe 2 to 3 months of the year, and that's it. I've come to the conclusion that electrical components on residential AC units could probably be changed on a schedule, not to be a sales tech, but to prevent downtime and prevent calls when it's really, really hot outside and the phone's ringing off the hook. It can prevent that stuff from happening, and callbacks. Okay, like what happened to me. So here's kind of my thought process on this. So that unit I went to was like 9 years old-ish. If I were to go on a service call to a 3-year-old unit or a 4-year-old unit, or let's say it's a 5-year-old unit, just in giggles. If it's a 5-year-old unit, I'm there for something else. Let's say they don't know how to change their filter. I go down, the filter is plugged, it's frozen up. I let it thaw. I get it back up and running, and it's running fine. Well, at that point, since it's 5 years old, I would be very, very comfortable to say to the homeowner, hey, while I'm here, I'd like to change your capacitor and your contactor. You don't need to, but in my experience, in a couple of years from now, that contactor or that capacitor may cause you an issue. Let's change it now. So in 3 or 4 years down the road, you won't have an issue. I am fully, I guess, convinced myself this is the way to go when it comes, only speaking about residential capacitors and contactors. Now, if you think about it, guys, the contactor and the capacitor are the electrical components that keep that compressor running, the fan going. If they're starting to fail or they got issues, that compressor can run hot, might not run properly, overamp, all kinds of things could happen. That compressor can fail, and that's the expensive part of the machine. If a compressor fails on a residential unit, sometimes it's not worth even changing it. It's just a complete swap of that machine, depending on the situation. So again, not sales tech-esque, service tech-esque, based on experience and observation. I think about every 5 years in my area, if the unit's about 5 years old and I'm at it for whatever reason, and the contactor and the capacitor are still day one stuff, I'm going to recommend replacing it for the reasons I laid out. If they don't do it and something happens down the road, I can come back and go, well, ma'am, sir, I recommended this 2-3 years ago, and this is why I recommended it. And then they might go, aha, I get it now. And then from that moment on, you might have them in that wheelhouse, in that mindset. So this was just to be short and sweet to give my thoughts on this. I've seen other technicians say that they've gone in, and this is sales tech-esque, where they go in and they change the capacitor and contactor every year. Maybe in a really hot climate where the thing's going on and off all day. That's another issue because it could be oversized, short cycling. Maybe that is a thing. I would have to be there and observe it for a while in order to make that decision for myself. But for most cases, the capacitor and contactor doesn't need to be changed on a yearly basis. But on a 5-year basis for where I live, it seems to be right in that wheelhouse where you're going to prevent a failure and you're going to prevent a service call or a callback. When you're busy and you might not be able to get to it, you're going to leave the customer maybe waiting a day or two before you can get out there. So this was to be short and sweet. And one last thing, guys. I mean, Jobber is the CRM tool that I use, and they are sponsoring this little podcast. Jobber is a CRM tool that can help you stay organized within your business. I use it for my stuff. I mean, invoicing and quoting and keeping track of all my money. You can schedule with it. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it and keep everything organized and everything as paperless as possible. So if you want to check out Jobber and you want to get a 2-week free trial and some savings wrapped up in the first few months, check out getjobber.com/HVAC know-it-all.